So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the session today for our Teach for the Bay, the 5th year. And we are here having a workshop for P3 ECE Special Instruction Credential updates. And we have Bronwyn and Kennedy and Renee Marshall here supporting from CTC today. So please remember for the rest of this few days, you can please sign up for more workshops. Please drop your name and information if you want to communicate in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat and I'll be muting people if anything comes up. Please put in your questions and we'll try and answer them the best that we can. And thank you all for being here today. So I'm going to pass it on to Bronwyn.
Thank you, Melise. All right, as Melise so eloquently put, we are here for the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential update. And if that is what you're here to learn about, you're in the right spot. And that's me. Hey, that's me. I am Bronwyn Kennedy. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I have over 25 years of experience in the field of early education, and that has ranged from working with state preschools, private preschools, mentoring and coaching teachers, family childcare owners. I even owned my own private preschool facility, and I worked as a liaison in the field of early learning policy and planning. And now, for the last several years, I have been focused on strengthening the capacity of P3 educators in our great, beautiful state of California to help support a sustainable workforce that supports our families and children throughout the state. I am currently a consultant with the Professional Services Division of the California State Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and I am involved in this development of the new PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, and I work with this child development permit, and also I support teacher preparation programs with universities across the state and other important ECE initiatives. I'm so excited with being here with you all today, and we're going to talk about this exciting new PK-3 ECE Specialist Credential. So I'm going to use this beautifully borrowed slide that we borrowed from our friends over at the CDE, because I think it very well puts what our new PK-3 ECE Specialist Credential is. It is designed for our focus on developmentally appropriate practices for young children in UPK through grade 3. So this credential recognizes and values the rich background and extensive experience that our candidates who come from current and or prior work in the ECE field to preparation programs. So if you're currently working in an ECE program, or you had, or maybe you're brand new to the field, this is going to be the credential for you. This credential has been approved. It was approved in February and brought into law in February and approved as of April 1st, 2024. So it is ready to go. We are ready to start with this credential. A couple of things we want to note about the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential is it is different than our child development permit. So a couple of important things to note. With our new credential, the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, there is a program approval process that moves through our state regulatory process, which means programs, universities, have to apply to offer that credential on their campuses. Individuals must enroll in a teacher preparation program to earn that credential and when it becomes available on a campus. There are ECE program standards and TPEs for the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. When we talk about our child development permit, individuals may apply directly to the commission to receive a permit. They don't have to go through a teaching credential program for that. There is not a permit program approval process, and there are ECE program guidelines and TPEs for the permits. So there are two different things, the credential and the child development permit. Currently, who can teach PK-3 classes? So you have to have a teaching credential to teach PK-3 classes in California with this new credential. And those that can teach it are multiple subject credential holders, multiple subject intern credential holders, emergency specialists teaching permits in ECE, anybody else that has a short-term permit and or waiver that's been issued by the CTC, and then our brand new PK-3 ECE and Specialist Instruction Credential holders. And we're going to talk about how you can get that new PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential today. So our requirements for that new PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential are as follows. You must have a bachelor's or higher degree from a regionally accredited institution of higher education. Their subject matter requirement for this credential is 24 units in ECE or child development, or a bachelor's degree or above in one of nine specific majors. Sorry about that. And I'm going to go over what those specific majors are. You have to complete a credential program, and that program would include teacher preparation coursework, clinical practice, and we'll go over what clinical practice looks like. Your credential program would also introduce you to, help you practice and assess the TPEs, or those teaching performance expectations. And those teaching performance expectations also includes our new literacy, math, and diversity, equity, inclusion standards. In addition to completing that credential program, you would also need to pass a teaching performance assessment. And those could be a Cal TPA, an Ed TPA, or our friends at Fresno State, they have the FAST. You would also need to pass the RECA, or after June 30th of 2025, you would pass the literacy performance assessments. So that is what would be required to get the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. So we're going to break that down just a little bit. So first of all, we're going to talk about that bachelor degree. So the subject matter requirement. So across the board for any credential in California, you're going to need a bachelor's degree. So the bachelor's degree is going to meet your subject matter requirement one of two ways. For this credential, you would need to get a bachelor's degree, and you could get a bachelor's degree in anything, and then add on 24 units of early childhood education. But those 24 units, remember, have to be equivalent quarter units of non-remedial degree applicable coursework, and they must come from a regionally accredited institution, and they have to be in early childhood education or child development. So if you have a bachelor's degree in psychology, you could add on those 24 units of ECE or child development and meet the subject matter requirement for this credential. However, if you have a bachelor's degree in one of these 9, which are child development, child and adolescent development, human development, early childhood education, child and family studies, early childhood studies, human development and family science, or child, adolescent, and family studies, you would meet the subject matter requirement with just your bachelor's degree. It has to be specifically in one of these 9 degrees. So it can't be a variation of these degrees. It has to be one of these 9 degrees. Before you ask, yes, we will send out the PDF of these slides, because I know it's a lot to write down all 9 degrees or take screenshots with your phone. I promise we will send out the slides to everybody that comes to the presentation today.
Bronwyn,
So this is,
you're reading minds. I literally just had a personal message to me where they said that. Also, I want to elevate one thing, everybody. Those of you who've been in teacher prep, or those of you who've considered other credentials, are probably used to going, wait, CBEST, CSET, like, tell us about that. That's something really different about this credential. Your bachelor's degree shows that you've got basic skills requirement met. There is no need to take a CBEST anymore. And then in terms of your subject matter requirement, Bronwyn's diving into this now because there's even more than one option, but that also takes the CSET off the table. That is no longer part of this, like part of what you need to do. And for those of us who've taken the CBEST and the CSET, I'm so old, I took the MSAT, I'm going to be honest, but I train people on how to pass the CSET. these were some of the most exciting pieces to me about this PK-3 credential, because there's these kind of, we want to make sure people have those competencies, but they're already embedded in other ways during your pathway to get to your teaching position. So thanks, Bronwyn, for letting me riff on that for
Yeah,
just a
of course.
minute. It's so nice when you can pull off. Oh, and one other thing too. Want to let everybody know the RECA is officially sunsetting next end of June of 2025. So like Bronwyn was saying in the last slide there, at that point, it will transition to the other assessment, but that's what's happening. The RECA will no longer be around in a little bit less than a year. So thank you, Bronwyn.
Of course. So if anybody that is in the presentation today is just starting on their coursework or their pathway to this, or maybe just thinking like, maybe I'm thinking about getting this credential, what is it? What does that look like for me? And you're trying to decide if you, what degree you're looking at, and you're starting that coursework, take into account these 9 degrees and wondering if that's the way you should go. Or if you're thinking of just getting a degree in liberal studies, which that's totally fine, remember you're going to still need to add on those 24 units of early childhood education or child development to meet the subject matter requirement for this degree. So when you're looking at those pathways and you're trying to decide if this credential is right for you, you've got a couple of options here if you're at the very beginning of this pathway and in this journey. So, but if you've already started and you're like, oh, hey, like for instance, for myself, I already have a degree in early childhood education. So I would meet the subject matter requirement with that bachelor's degree. I wouldn't have to worry about those 24 units because one's going to assume those units are encompassed in that degree. So think about your own personal pathway when you're looking at the subject matter requirement and what you have already done or what you're thinking about doing as you start this journey. And we'll talk a little bit more about working with us one-on-one as we go later on in the presentation about what your personal journey looks like and how we can assist you with that. So starting to dive into that clinical practice, we all know that clinical practice is very essential to working with young children, especially our youngest, most vulnerable learners, because we need that hands-on time with them so that we can really learn what that's going to look like for us in the classroom. And that's where we really do our most valuable learning, is when we're working with them side by side, when we're working with those other teachers, and we're really learning what it's going to be like to be in that classroom. So we have a clinical practice requirement for this credential, and we have 600 hours is what's required for this credential, minimum of 600 hours. The program that you choose to go with to get your credential could require more, but the CTC has required only a minimum of 600. We can grant equivalency for this with 2 options. So we're going to talk about those options. Option number 1 is your professional equivalency for clinical practice. This is for those that maybe have been working in the ECE field for quite some time and want to, we always hear that, how can I make the time that I've worked in a classroom count? Well, this will be your chance right here. You must have a child development permit, teacher level or higher. You have one of the following: child development teacher permit level or higher, work as a lead teacher in a Head Start program, or have been a lead teacher in a child care and development center serving preschool age children. So one of those things. And also have been 6 years or more of satisfactory full-time teaching. And remember, when we talk about full-time teaching in an ECE setting, we're talking 3 hours a day, a minimum of 3 hours a day. So 6 years or more, 3 hours of teaching in a preschool setting. Candidates must provide written verification of that, and we do have a handbook that goes about how you get that written verification. If you have met both of those, your program that you get your credential through must grant you 200 of those 600 hours. However, there's no partial credit. So let's say you were a lead teacher in a Head Start program, but you only worked for 3 years. There's no 100-hour credit for that. You have to satisfy both, that one of those at the top and a full 6 years to get that 200-hour equivalency. So that's your professional equivalency option. Or there's number 2, your practicum class equivalency option. This must be done at a regionally accredited institution of higher education. The class has to be credit bearing and degree applicable. that has to be completed in a preschool or ECE setting serving 3 or 4-year-old children. That infant toddler class is not going to count, even though they're so fun to cuddle and play with. It's not going to count for this equivalency option. It has to be supervised by trained faculty members. Grade C or better. You're going to provide those transcripts to show us that you got a grade C or better. And your equivalency is going to be granted per the number of practicum hours. So if you did 100 practicum hours, you're going to get 100 hours of equivalency. And so that could be, so you could get up to 200 hours there as well. So you could have 200. So it's option 1 or option 2.
Can I speak on something just one moment too, Bronwyn?
Yes, of course.
I'm making a comment in the chat too. At some point, could you talk a little bit more about the 24 units in the presentation and just how they need to be regionally accredited, that piece of it, if you could share that with everybody, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So with your clinical practice is crucial to your preparation, as this is where we develop our competencies when we're developing our teachers. Our programs are responsible for preparing our candidates for success on the teaching performance assessment, our TPAs, and they're ensuring your appropriate placement. So when you go through your teaching credential program, they're going to help place you there. You're not going to have to be able to find that on your own. Your program is going to help you with that. Again, like I said before, your programs may require more than the 600 hours. We haven't seen one yet that has been approved, but that could happen in the future. If granting equivalency, you can combine your work experience and your practicum to get that 400 hours. So if you've met that lead teacher and worked for 6 years and you've gotten the 200 hours there, and then you've done the practicum class, you could get that 400 hours to meet that. You must complete 200 of the 600 hours in a K through 3rd classroom. So even if you meet your PK equivalency for 400 hours, you still have to do 200 of that in a K through 3rd classroom. So just some reminders. There are no basic skills requirements for that. So no CBEST for this credential. Your subject matter is your degree or your coursework. There's no CSET. And so going back over that again, those 24 units comes from a regionally accredited university, and we can help you with that. We have a great website. Our CTC website has all of the regionally accredited websites listed on there, and you can search them. You can search by who's next to you. You can put in your location. You can put in if you want a private university, if you want a CSU, if you want a community college. You can put in all sorts of parameters, and it'll bring up a regionally accredited university for you to make sure. And you can also check if the university that you're currently going to or college that you're going to is regionally accredited. It will tell you all of that. So that's really important for you to know. And then your equivalency for clinical practice can be work experience or practicum or both. You can combine both of them. If you meet both of them, you can get up to 400 hours. But again, 200 of those 600 have to be done in a K through 3rd setting. K through 3rd, not TK through 3rd, K through 3rd. I'm going to pause.
Bronwyn, I'm going to chime in for just a second here. You have some questions in the chat, and you started to address one of them already. So I'm going to just kind of bring them up for a moment.
Sure.
One question: can an individual challenge that their degree meets the requirement, for example, an AAT in elementary education at a community college to liberal studies, BA program? You could always try to challenge and send in your transcripts. By all means, the certification team would do an analysis of your transcripts to see if it's a match. Second question here, and this is what you started to already address. Can the CTC send out a list of which 4-year colleges are in alignment with community colleges that are following the pathway of one of the 9 accepted majors? I feel like you shared the overall where they can go to find out what colleges are, but I don't think we have any sort of alignment of not that I can think of. The other thing I'm thinking of, I'm wondering if in this presentation, do we share the PK-3 programs that have already been accepted?
I'm going to in a little while.
Perfect.
Yes.
So, okay. So Mari, just so you know, later on in the presentation, and when you get the slide deck, you'll get this. As of right now, we have 7 PK-3 programs that have been approved by the Committee of Accreditation. And so you'll get that listing. They're not all running right now, but they've all been approved. And I think we have like 20 or about 20 programs that are somewhere in the process of approval. And that approval process is taking about 6 to 12 months. But knowing there's already 7 out the gate and then up to another 20 coming is really exciting. Thanks, Bronwyn. I appreciate you
Yes,
letting
of
me.
course. So the couple of questions regarding the 200 hours, it does need to be consistent placement. It cannot be substitute hours and it cannot be volunteer hours. So those are just some, and we do have a great clinical practice guide that there's links to that in this PDF. So when you get your PDF, I strongly encourage you to look at your clinical practice guide because it outlines exactly how to meet those 200 hours and what counts, because it can get a little sticky. But also remember, whatever credential program you go through, they are going to walk you through that. They're going to help place you in those settings, specifically your K through 3 class. Your K through 3 clinical practice is going to be your traditional student teaching type of clinical practice setting. And they're going to help you get placed with there. They're going to walk you through that. So today, don't get so hung up on that clinical practice piece, because once you get into your program and you start working with your credential analysts and your program and your advisors, they're going to help you with all that. They're going to get you into those clinical practice pieces, and they're going to work with you on that. So please don't get too hung up on how to meet that clinical practice until you're in that place where you're ready to do that in your program. And you might be there already, but I'm just saying, for those of you that aren't, please don't get too hung up on that part yet. Okay, so let's see. Emergency credential pathway, or for this credential process. You can look at the guide, and we can also reach out to our credentialing department to talk to you about the emergency credential pathway for this, for sure. And yes, thank you, Renee. Our multiple subject holders can, if they have the 24 units, can apply right now for the PK-3 credential. All right.
Mari, we can talk about that, the EDU class. I taught that class for many, many years. We should probably go offline and have a conversation about that. We really, the goal is to really have that authentic experience as much as possible. One thing to note though, there are quite a few colleges that are starting to look at their practicum courses, and they're doing a couple things that Bronwyn and I have been like, and Debbie, we've been watching the trend. First off, we're seeing some campuses increase their number of hours that they're offering for practicum and aligning to that 100 hours. Another thing that we've seen with some of our Northern California colleges is they're actually creating 2 levels of practicum, or increasing like their observation class in terms of number of hours there. And then between 2 courses, packaging a 200-hour equivalency for their students. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It is looking at it a little differently, and it might even potentially change change the unit load depending on what else you have embedded within your practicum course. But just something important to note. I will also put our email in the chat, and you are welcome to email Bronwyn and I. There's one email that goes to Bronwyn, Deb, and I at the same time. And so I'll put that in chat. We are happy to meet and help you in any way and answer any questions, and expand on conversations and whatnot. Thanks so much, Bronwyn.
Yes, and the practicum online, it can be done. And again, that is expanded a little bit more in our clinical practice guide as well. So definitely there are, options for that practicum being done online as well. So, but again, your programs will help walk you through that. And if you are a program that is thinking about applying for a PK-3 credential program and you want to walk through that with our IPR team is more than happy to walk through that with you too. So. All right, let's continue on for a few minutes. I anticipate a timeline. It's so fun to update this because for a while, this time last year, we were like, I don't know, maybe sometime. But the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential has been approved. Like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it was officially approved in February and became effective April 1st. If you or someone that you know is a multiple subject credential holder and they have 24 ECE units, they can apply directly to the CTC for the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential now. They do not have to go through an additional credentialing program. It's a done deal. They do have to have those 24 ECE units, or a bachelor's degree in one of those 9 subject matters. So in one of those subjects. So if they have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education or human development, then they can apply directly to the TCTC for a credential. It is taking about 6 or 12 months for programs to be approved. We have 7 approved right now, and those approved programs are San Diego County Office of Education, Riverside County Office of Education, San Jose State University, Fresno State University, Vanguard University, Biola University, and California State University, Dominguez Hills. So we're very excited for all of them and to see what their programs are. We do not have a time frame of when they're going to start their programs. That's entirely up to the institution. We have heard that one of them will be starting their PK-3 credential program in the spring of 2025. So be on the lookout for that. You can also always go to our website and check out who has a PK-3 ECE instruction credential program and when it's available. We have committee of accreditation meetings. Our next one is October 31st, and we do anticipate a few more programs going up for approval then. So right now we're at 7. We hope by the end of the year, we're at about 10 or 12. That's our hope. So they're coming slowly, but surely they're coming. There are some funding supports out there for candidates who are interested in getting this credential. We always encourage you to check out things like the Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program and the Golden State Teacher Grants. The CDE has put out the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Teacher Pipeline Resource Compendium. These links will be active links that you can click on when you get this PDF. So check them out, apply. If you think are qualified, look and see. I know the compendium is updated regularly. You never know. These are the financial resources that we know that are available. I know there's lots more out there, so we always encourage you to do your research. So why would someone choose to pursue the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential? Those that are already working in the field of early childhood education are equipped with pedagogy expertise and classroom management strategies that are developmentally appropriate and provide positive outcomes for young children. We know this. You are here in this room today because you're already doing this. You are the experts. By next year, 2025, UTK will be fully implemented, which means more schools will be serving younger children on their campuses. It's important to have teachers that understand early childhood practices and those milestones to help with early identification. Early childhood educators that are trained and equipped to support the developmental needs of 4-year-old children when it comes to things like trauma-informed practices and the emotional strategies needed to help them thrive in early learning environments are so important. As UTK comes into full implementation, those that are already working in school districts as TK teachers can utilize this new credential to help fulfill apportionment requirements that have been put in place by our CDE. I'm going to pause for a moment before we talk about pathways to see if there's any questions that we can answer in the chat.
Bronwyn, there's a couple, and I don't think I answered one as clearly as I could have. I'm trying to go back to see for sure. Does the guide have, oh, sorry, this is another one. Does the guide have any emergency credential elements or pathway for this credential process?
There is a PK-3 handbook, and that would walk through it, as well as reaching out to our credentialing department. They would also be able to help you walk through the process of getting an emergency credential.
Great. We also have the question answered or question asked, does anybody in the state of California have a PK-3 credential yet? Remember, there's only a handful of programs and some of them are starting soon and some just started. But since those who have a multiple subject credential plus 23 units in early childhood education can apply to the commission directly for the credential, the PK-3 credential, There are people who already have it, everybody. And Nick Newman from our certification departments just wrote and said, Renee, I don't have the exact number, but we've been getting lots of people contacting us with applications about it. So hopefully at a future update, we can share what that exact number is, but we are happy to
That's
report that
exciting.
there are some.
And yes, Jonathan, you would be getting your 600 hours of clinical practice in your credential program. Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan, that's a great question. So if you are coming into the program and you don't have any of the equivalencies, that's totally fine. The 600
Yep.
hours are what we normally, like I did the 600 hours in my program. Most of us do that. This is just kind of like, here's some ways that hopefully for those of you who have extra experience or extra, either education or professional experience, you get some additional credit for it. Also, I know that people have, if anybody else has other questions, please feel free to unmute.
For sure.
Javanel also asked if if you've got a multiple subject and a director permit, would you be eligible for PK-3?
So with the multiple subject credential, you would still need to either have that bachelor's degree in one of the 9 approved majors or the 24 units at ECE. So that's kind of it's the same thing. So the director's permit, we love that you have that. That's awesome. But we still need you to have either the 9 majors or 24 units at ECE. Carrie.
Hi, thank you for taking the question. So if I'm an educator, I have a multiple subject credential, and I know you said look in the book, but I've been teaching in a self-contained classroom for maybe 6 years. This is a new law, and so now I'm going to have to now get the PK-3 ECE. If I've taught second, kinder, third, whatever those primary grades, will that be my practicum hours if I already have like the 24 units of whatever? So say I have everything else.
You already have a multiple subject credential?
Yeah. So if
You
I have
will
a
not,
clear,
you don't have to do the clinical practice, Carrie. You only need to get the additional 24 units of early childhood education. Or if your bachelor's was in one of those 9 majors, you just have to show that proof to the CTC and apply for the PK-3 credential. Because you've already gone through a credential program. You don't have to go through another credential program. You already have a clear credential.
And
all
those
right,
24
good to know.
units of
Thanks so
early
much.
childhood, they can be any 24 units, Carrie.
Yes.
So they don't have to be specific units. So it could be you taking 8 3-unit classes, but it could be you taking 24 1-unit classes, over a longer period of time.
Yeah, and that's what we really want our multiple subject credential folks to know, that you do not have to go through another credential program. Oh my gosh, you've already done that. We do not want you to do that again. So you just have to meet the subject matter requirement. That's all you have to do. And then apply to the CTC. And when you go onto the CTC website and you click on that apply for a credential, you just go in there to the PK-3, you click it and you walk through the steps, and you just have to send in the proof and go through the steps of applying for a new credential. That's it. So it's fairly simple process. Yes, and if anybody wants to meet with our team one-on-one to talk about your specific instance or your specific journey, please reach out to us in that email that Renee just put in the chat, and we're more than happy to do that. Everybody's journey is different. I mean, we could sit here for 2 hours and talk about, everybody's different things, which we would love to do that. That's something that we absolutely love about our job. But please do that. Please reach out to us, where we will set up a time with you and, and go over that and help you on your way. And if we can't do it, we'll, bring in credentialing and all of that.
And sometimes, honestly, everybody, sometimes we'll even pull in people from our certification department, because we'll be like, oh, can you pull this from regulations or go into ed code? Because sometimes there's special circumstances and we need to even pull in additional staffing from the commission in order to make sure that we're, following all the legal rules and advising properly. But please know that we are here to help. That's important. And I think I said this earlier today, but I want to make sure this message comes across. You come to this session right now and you now know people at the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, Bronwyn and Renee. Let us know how we can help you. Like, we're real people,
Yes,
which is great. And we work remotely. So we're literally like online, and we try to be available as much as possible.
So 2 questions in the chat. Jonathan, you do not need to get a child development permit to apply for this credential. if you do, bonus, that's awesome. We love it. We think that everybody should have a child development permit if they're in this field, but you don't have to get it. You can just go straight to the credential pathway. And Carola, if you currently have a multiple subject credential, the 24 units are needed to continue teaching in third grade or only if teaching in TK. So to get the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, to apply for that credential, you need the 24 units for that credential. So, and that credential authorizes the holder to teach in a PK through third grade classroom. So whether or not your principal puts you in a TK classroom or a third grade classroom would be up to them. But once you apply for that credential after getting those 24 units, and then you have that additional credential on top of your multiple subject credential, then that would be up to your hiring director. So yeah, it would authorize you to teach PK through third. I hope that
that's
answered your
really
question.
important. Everybody, please know, like this credential was absolutely in response to the transitional kindergarten like explosion that we knew was going to happen in terms of allowing more 4-year-olds to come into the TK through 12 system. But it's also important to note that it's not guaranteed that if you get this credential, you're going to be working with 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds. You absolutely could be in a third grade classroom as well, or a second grade classroom, first grade classroom. So it's important for everybody to know that when you're getting the certification, what does it allow you to do? Now, I will be honest, I have a multiple subject credential. And when I was interviewing in the K through 12 system, there were times where they'd say, oh, we want you to take a 4th grade. And within my interview, I would negotiate. I'd go, you know what? I'm a great 4th grade teacher, but if you hire me for kindergarten, I will be a superstar in your district. And I can be a great 4th grade, or you can have me be like a teacher leader in the district if you put me with 5-year-olds. And so please know, though, you have like that opportunity to have those conversations, because we all want people to be in their right spot, because that's when the magic happens, when you're with those children and when you're in the classroom. So just know that you have, some power and some opportunity. And, if you've got certain expertise, or if you feel like you're going to really excel with first graders or TK or whatever, feel free to let that be known. People will try to put you where they can. There was also one time in my career where I got hired at a school because I loved the school. And the principal said to me, I do not have a kindergarten right now, Renee. But if you come teach for me in a different grade, I can guarantee you that when a kinder opens up, you will be the first person we offer it to. And she held true to her word. And within 1 year, I went from teaching upper grades back to teaching my 5-year-olds. So just wanted to share that briefly. Thank you, Bronwyn.
Thank you, Renee. Megan, you asked a question in the chat about TK and the 600 hours. As long as the time that you worked there was actually with TKers and not with kindergartners, you can use that time. But it's also important to remember that for your professional equivalency, you had to have worked for 6 years. You don't have to work for 6 years at the same place, but you have to work cumulatively of 6 years as a lead teacher. So just kind of remember those parameters. And again, when you go through the credential program, your credentialing advisor will help you with all of that. So I really want to make sure that unless you're at that point in your credential program, that you don't get too hung up on that clinical practice equivalency, because that will be a while down for your clinical practice in your program. All right, let's go through some pathways. Just some examples. So first here, we have a young lady who has just graduated college with a BA in liberal studies and wants to be a first grade teacher. So her pathway is going to look like she has that BA. She wants to get the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, but she has that BA in liberal studies. So she is going to go through and get those 24 units in ECE and go through her credentialing program to do her first grade teaching. So because she has that BA in liberal studies, she's going to go through the subject matter requirement of the 24 units in ECE or child development. Our next pathway is a gentleman here who's just graduated college with a BA in child development. He wants to be a kindergarten teacher, and he's taught preschool for 8 years as a lead teacher. So he's met his subject matter requirement through getting that BA in child development. And because he's taught preschool for 8 years as a lead teacher, he's already met 200 hours of that clinical practice requirement. So he's well on his way as well. So I'm hoping everybody kind of sees here the pathways that everybody can take. And our final one is a person that has been a site supervisor with a child development permit and has been teaching in a preschool setting for 25 years. They're going to need to go through a teaching credential program. They have to get their BA and then apply to go through a credential program. Their BA can be in anything, remember. If they choose to get a BA in liberal studies, they're going to need to get those 24 units in ECE or child development, or they can get their BA in one of 9 majors. And then they've already met their clinical practice, obviously 25 years in a preschool setting and has been a site supervisor. So we've got 3 different things here that lead us in different pathways. There's so many different pathways to this credential. It can be a little confusing because we're all on different pathways, but this credential has opened up so many doors for the early childhood education field. So we want to make sure that if you have individualized questions, to please reach out to us. We want to work the questions out. We don't want anybody to get frustrated or confused. So please reach out to us about your individual situation if you need some help walking through that. No, Brian, you do not have to do, Bryn, you don't have to do the CSET for PK-3 credential. No CSET, no CBEST. If you are doing the PK-3 credential, you meet your subject matter requirement with the BA in one of 9 majors or a BA in anything plus 24 units in early childhood education or child development.
Bronwyn, I've been trying to look for the answer to the ITEP question. And based on the information I have at hand right now, I don't think I have like a complete answer.
No, I don't either. We can get that
we
back
can,
to you though.
Yeah, we can definitely get it back to you. I hope it's okay, Bronwyn. I'm going to state the groups that are offering the pathways again, just so people know. San Jose State University, we're looking at a post-baccalaureate traditional student teaching and residency pathway. Fresno State University is a post-baccalaureate traditional student teaching and residency. Please remember, some of these have already kicked off. Some of these are planning to kick off in 2025, everybody. So Riverside County Office of Ed is an intern program. San Diego County Office of Ed is an intern PK-3 program. Vanguard University has a post-baccalaureate traditional student teaching integrated undergraduate pathway. So we do have an integrated there. We also have CSU Dominguez Hills post-baccalaureate traditional student teaching intern, and they have a tentative start date in 2025. So that's still tentative, the start date. And then most recently, Biola University is offering a post-baccalaureate plans to offer post-baccalaureate traditional student teaching integrated undergraduate program. So, but we can get we also have more programs that should be coming through, I believe, at the end of October, I believe is the next date. But
yeah,
we
October
can,
31st.
Excellent. So Bronwyn, thanks. And Bronwyn already put it in the chat. If you want this information as it's coming out, just shoot us an email. We're happy to meet with you, or even just via email, send the information. Thank you, Bronwyn.
Of course. Jonathan, it's up to the institutions can require what they want for their credentialing program. There's only certain things that we can monitor and assess on that. So whether they require 24 units for their bachelor's degree, a lot of those 9 majors encompass that 24 units. That's kind of why we say if you have one of those 9 majors, you're going to be qualified to meet, because most of those 9 majors already have 24 units built into that. But if you took 24 units of child development at a community college, you're already on your way. You're set. So depending on what the major is, when you go into a 4-year university or transfer over to a 4-year university, you might already be on that pathway. So that's a question you would need to do when you go into a bachelor's program, unless you're already on your bachelor's program. So I don't want to assume that. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide and open up for about 5 minutes of questions. I know we're back to back on presentations today, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to go to the next one. And by the next one, I say Renee Marshall and the CDE, because they're going to be doing one on ECE workforce pathways, which I think everybody should go to. But we have freedom of choice, so you can do whatever you want. But let's go here to this one because it's important information. When you get this PDF file, you're going to have these clickable links. We have a whole web page on our website that is devoted to the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction. Could we have a longer name for this credential? We have the handbook for this credential. We have that clinical practice guide. We have a whole page of FAQs. So some of these questions you're asking might be in that FAQ. So do like a Control F and then type in your question. Maybe you'll be able to find it. Subscribe to our ECE news. That is where it comes out once a month. We have lots of information on there. When new programs get approved, it's going to be in that news. Our PSD news comes out every week. That's also a great one to stay up on. You can email us. Our office cafe is once a month on the third Tuesday. That's really fun. You can come and chat with us about all sorts of fun things. And then our community circle is also a great place to stay connected. Come to that. Our next one is on October 21st, and we're going to be talking about the new preschool TK learning foundations, which is always a good time. And our partners from CDE are going to be there, and we love to hang out with them. So all these links are clickable here. I'll email these to you, this link, this PDF before I go home for the day. All right. So I'll make sure you have it this evening so that you can start registering and clicking and saving and all those things, because I know everybody's interested. Email us if you have questions. Email us if you want to set up a time to meet with us. We are serious when we say that. We are not just saying that because it's a nice thing to say. We really, really want to meet with you, and we want you to be educated to what this information is. We want you to be awesome PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential holders, if that's what you choose to be. The field needs you. The field needs people like you, whether you're going to teach in our preschool classrooms, which we need you there, whether you're going to teach in our TK through third classrooms, we need you there. The field needs awesome educators like you. You've dedicated yourself to the ECE field, and our vulnerable families and staff and children need you. The field is just impressed by you, and we're excited that you came here to our presentation today, and we're excited that you've chosen this as your workforce pathway. So we have 2 minutes for questions. Please ask them before we let you go so you can take a potty break and then go to your next workshop. So please
I also want to
unmute
give
or
a
put them in the
plug,
chat.
everybody. I know we have a couple minutes for questions. I want to give a plug. Bronwyn will be giving the same exact presentation.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So if you are somebody who likes to hear something more than once, maybe we can send out that link in the email response to everybody, so that way you can sign up for it, or you can just go to the Teach for the Bay flip book and you can sign up again there if that interests you. But we're here in partnership, and so we're here to be of help.
For sure. Yes.
Also,
Any last minute
questions?
questions? Yeah. Any last minute questions? Don't let us scare you off.
I can
Oh,
always
thank you,
ask the
Carrie.
question.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi, I can always ask the question. Is there any movement on recognizing the education specialist credential as a multiple subject credential?
We've been working on that, definitely, Robbie. It's definitely in our queue. We've been talking about it. There's a couple of different things that we've been talking about as far as pathways. The education specialist credential is one of them, along with out-of-state credentials, things like that. You know, it's in our thoughts. It's in our process. It's there. We are definitely talking about it. I want you to know that we have been thinking about it, talking about it, and so yeah, it's there.
Wrong. Also, one more thing, Robbie. When we brought it up originally, when you first elevated the idea, I want to let you know it was not shut down at all.
No,
It was
wasn't.
like, ooh, how do we explore this? So
Yeah.
that was what was super exciting to us, because things take time, but it was like hey, how do we explore this? Who do we need to pull in from certification? How do we look at regulations? There was even talk of there's been different sets of standards within special education over the years. So how does that apply then based on the set of standards and when people were credentialed? So I promise you, Robbie, we are absolutely in conversation.
Yep.
But by you coming and consistently elevating and bringing up special education, please know that your advocacy makes a difference. And
I want
so,
to be the first one to apply for it, though, since I've done all this work.
oh my gosh, wouldn't that be so joyous?
Just for people in the room, I'm an education specialist with a clear credential, which is a special educator. And I'm trying to get that recognized as a multiple subject credential, which it is recognized that when you go through your credentialing program, but not necessarily for some of the pathways that we've been talking about. And so that's what I'm advocating for. And at this point in my career, in terms of my ECE units, I'm on my second to last class for ECE that I'll need for the 24 units. So I'm on the verge after next semester. I mean, I should just be able to apply at that point, you know, the end of next May, let's say. But I just wanted to catch up with Renee and Bronwyn to see if there's progress.
We're working on it. We're working
Well,
on
and
it.
also want to share with everybody that we have a commission item related to the child development permit that's coming up in October, on October 18th. And that's always another opportunity to give public comment, both written and verbal, that goes directly to the commissioners. And the commissioners at the commission are the people who make the decision. So always elevate your voice, everybody. This is about democracy, and we love when people give public comment and share with their beliefs, because that helps to frame the future of education. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Robbie, for being a constant advocate for this very important thing. So we appreciate you so much. All right. Time for one more question, because I do want to make sure everybody has time to go and take a bio break and get to their next room. We appreciate you so very much. All right. With that, I'm going to let you leave. Have a great Wednesday afternoon. Again, if you want to see the same presentation again, come and hang out with us on Friday, and we will email the PDF of this presentation to you this evening. Have a great evening, everybody. I enjoyed hanging out with you. Bye-bye.